Welcome to the collection of the wildest and craziest AITA Reddit stories of all time. From wild betrayals to shocking twists, these tales will leave you questioning who is really in the wrong. Let's dive in together. The first story for this collection is from User is a Dumbass. AITA for wanting to have an abortion even though a family is offering to adopt? Okay, throwaway account. I am a 23-year-old female. I have been in a relationship with 25M for over 5 years. Living together for 2. A week ago, I found out that I was pregnant. Trust me when I say, we were being as safe as possible, and it was a huge shock to us. We both talked and agreed that abortion is the best answer. So we made an appointment with the doctor. We have a mandatory reflection period after the first appointment and before the procedure. My next appointment is 3 days from today. So, last Friday, I started feeling overwhelmed at work and was kinda losing it in the bathroom when a coworker walked in. She is really sweet and one of the senior managers who helped me out a lot in the beginning. I spilled my beans and she was very comforting and calming me. But later that day, she asks me if I was willing to have the baby so that she and her husband can adopt. Turns out both her and her husband have fertility issues and there was no way to get pregnant, and they have been adopting for a long time now. She said she will help me with the pregnancy, help with the cost, put in a good word with boss at work, so my career won't be affected, etc. I was really shocked and said I will think about it. After thinking about it over the weekend, I decided that I didn't want to do this. I was already feeling too overwhelmed, and I didn't want to carry a baby only to give him her up. I don't think I can handle that. So, on Monday, I went to her office and told her about my decision. As soon as I said no, she started crying, and I just felt so guilty. Because she is a sweet person and would be a lovely mother. I kept trying to explain to her, and she wasn't willing to listen, and she kept telling me to get out. I thought she needed a moment and left, but after that, she refused to hear my apology or even listen to my reasoning. She was avoiding me all day. Some of my colleagues came to know about this, and everyone was coming over to my desk to change my mind. I was almost breaking down, and I kept saying no. Everyone thinks I am the asshole for preferring abortion when there is a good family willing to adopt. Needless to say, I was quite upset when I got home. When I told my BF about this, he didn't think I was the asshole, but he did say this was a good idea, and he would prefer this over abortion. And he asked me to think about this for some more time and to postpone my appointment to Monday. But I said no, and that I am going to this appointment and that it's final. Then, he got mad and said that I wasn't even willing to think about it, and that was the least I could do. He was also mad that I wasn't even willing to take his advice, and that the baby is also his. I just went to the study room and locked the door and didn't talk to him after that. And also, I took WFH today because I didn't want to face anyone right now. I haven't spoken to anyone since last night. This whole week has been an emotional roller coaster. So, AITA? Edits. First of all, thank you for all support. ESP. People who DM'd me with personal stories and words of comfort. 2. To the people who are DMing me with horrendous links and abuses. Please stop. It is already hard enough for me. 3. For all the pro-life people here. Your main argument is that the baby is another life, and my bodily anatomy doesn't matter because there is a person's life at stake. You do realize that if a person doesn't consent to organ donation before death, his organs will not be harvested despite the several lives which can be saved. Why? Bodily autonomy. A corpse's bodily autonomy is respected despite the several lives which are at stake, while a woman's bodily autonomy is not being respected over a bunch of cells. One life, if a person is very far along the pregnancy. Just something for you to think about. Lastly, I am sorry I couldn't respond personally to everyone, but I have read most, if not all, comments here, and know that I am deeply thankful for everyone taking time to help me. OP is not an AH for making a decision about her own body for which she has every right. If abortion is a best option for her mental and physical well-being, she should proceed with it. Other people's opinion doesn't matter, and no one can dictate her life. As for scores, I would rate OP 0 out of 5 on the AH scale. Let's now jump onto the next story from OK Entrepreneur 3741. AITA for telling my family how I feel, for wanting to leave. My fiancé, 23M, and I, 25F, moved to another state with the rest of my bio family. During this time, I was pregnant. The move was really fast, and I felt like my family wasn't prepared. I told my mother that we would try it for a year, and if we didn't like it, we would do something else. Well, this last year has been hell. I let my parents talk me into wanting to move with them because they needed my name in the house, and I thought it would be better for my baby in the long run. Long story short, things were said to me about not unpacking their things fast enough or not organizing anything. We did. There's 14 of us, and my fiancé and I left to unload it until they could bring the rest of our stuff. I milked my pregnancy and didn't do anything. We gave up all our savings to get everyone over here. My parents maxed out my credit card. They put my name on the tractor here they got. It all came to a head during my birth. My fiancé got into it with my family because he thought I wanted everyone to be quiet, so he was trying to ensure that. Plus, we did a home birth, so he was stressed out because we were an hour away from a hospital that has a pediatric unit. He snapped at my family for things. This caused a whole storm. During my birth, my dad said something and left made a sense. 2 of my brothers left to the bar because they were going to fight him, supposedly. The younger 3 went upstairs. My mom sat on the stairs until our son came out. I was moved into my bedroom to get stitches. My fiancé left to go upstairs and didn't come back for a while. I guess my dad was yelling at him and threatening to kick his ass. I didn't know at the time and was asking for my mom, and no one could find her. My grandma came in and held my hand. My mom came in at the end, looked at my son, said something to me, and left. I didn't see them until the next day when I woke up in the afternoon. I went upstairs with my son to see them, and I got ambushed about the birth and how I shouldn't marry him, that he was controlling. I was hormonal and wasn't thinking straight, so I came down here and got into an argument with him about it. The next 2 days I got sick. I ended up going septic and had to stay in the hospital for a week. I told my fiancé something was wrong, and I asked my mom to come down because I was scared. She tried not to come down here at all because of my fiancé. I felt like I had to beg her to come check on me. Things were awkward, but I thought they were on the mend. My fiancé apologized and was doing a lot to mend their relationship between them. I have had hard feelings about my birth because I felt abandoned by them, and that they put their emotions in front of my son's birth. Well, finally, I blew up on my parents the other day. We came home from visiting my fiancé's sister. My dad was trying to put his cold hands on me, and I told him to stop like 3 times. The 4th time he went to do it, I snapped a bit and shoved his hands away. My dad then mumbled something under his breath and left. He came out 10 minutes later, and I was sitting at the table when he told me that I didn't want to start anything with him because I wouldn't like it. That's when I went off about what his problem is. Apparently, I didn't specifically tell him we were going to his sister's. I don't know how he didn't know I told everyone for a month. Even my aunt, who was here for a week and a half, knew I was going. I told him that. He told me he didn't know anything, and that it was my fault. That I act different now that my fiancé was home full-time. I spend more time with them, but I don't see how else. They are the family I am making, so I think that's fine. My father then said he was going to kick my fiancé's butt. Every time I say something he or one of my brothers doesn't like, the first thing is to threaten to fight him. I told them how I felt abandoned at the end of my birth. This sent my dad into a fury. He told me that I was a spoiled, ungrateful brat because I said I felt that way. That I needed them for money. I wouldn't if they would stop taking everything. FS my mom has taken over my bank account because hers got hacked. My dad told me, you, and that I could never take that back. My brother told me that I deserved the rude things they said to me during my pregnancy. When I didn't react the way he wanted, he would get CM away from my nose and try to stare me down. When that didn't work, he resorted to trying to say things to hurt my feelings. Like I abandoned them during my birth and it was all my fault. I want to leave and head back to the area we are from. I can't feel safe here with this whole situation. The thing is, I know it will start another fight. My biofam is notorious for cutting people off if they don't like what you did. We wanted to leave and not tell anyone, but I feel like I can't do that to my mom, grandma, and little brothers. I still want them in my life and my son's, but I can't live here anymore. I'm not happy and I don't feel safe. I guess I'm asking if I am thinking clearly. I should tell my mom and them and just not say anything to the rest? Or if I tell my mom and leave a note. I want them in my life so bad. OP is not an AH for prioritizing the well-being of her son. OP's family members are AHs for being manipulative and abusive towards her. OP's decision to leave them is completely justified. She did nothing wrong. So I would rate OP family 2.5 out of 5, an OP 0 on the AH scale. Let's now jump on to the next story from Holt's own. AITA. If I didn't send a Christmas gift to my abusive mom. My mother is extremely manipulative, and I suspect that she is a narcissist among other things. While she has done a lot of things to support me, like paying for my studies, buying me clothes, going on family trips that she would often ruin, going to the restaurant, and other things, when I told this to my friends and partners, they all said that this is the bare minimum. And it kind of shocked me because I hadn't realized and felt bad about being so rightfully upset at my mom. She has ruined my life and the way I feel things and express myself in so many different ways. She is also ableist, despite having 2 disabled children, including me, racist, transphobic, Islamophobic, fatphobic, and more. I could write a lot about things she said to me or about other people, but that would probably take too much time, and that really isn't the point of my post. Basically, she is very mean to me and other people, very bitter and judgmental. It is very draining to be around her because she always complains about everything, and I will never be good enough for her. The most recent thing that she's done was throwing a tantrum in front of my partners when she, my dad, and my brother were visiting. I moved from my home country to another, and I feel so much better now that I'm away from her. This wasn't the first time my girlfriend was meeting my mom, but my boyfriend hadn't met her before, and the first impression was not the best. She got extremely upset because, and I swear I'm not making this up, I didn't make her lasagna at my house like she had wanted me to. Mind you, we live in quite a small house just for 2 or 3 people, so having double the amount wasn't the most comfortable, and my mom isn't the skinniest person alive. Both my partners were standing. My parents and brother were on the couch, and I had to sit on the desk chair by the coffee table, so I was not exaggerating. We argued the day before because my girlfriend had told me that having them over for dinner was going to be extremely overwhelming, and that we wouldn't have the space, and she, my mom, reluctantly accepted that there wouldn't be any lasagna, but snacks instead. When she was looking around the house, she kept making rude comments and eventually said, "You're not going to like this, but I, for one, think that there was plenty of space for us to eat here. It was really selfish of you not to make the lasagna. If you didn't want us over, you just had to say so." And that made me snap, which ended in her storming out of the house and basically telling me and my partners to f off. Great first impression, thanks Mom. The day after, we had to help them get to the airport, mainly because they don't speak English, and I had to help with directions. And, this is kind of funny, when we got into the subway, she power walked all the way to the other end of the train to sit as far away as possible. My dad felt and looked completely hopeless and disappointed, and he had to sit with Mom for the whole hour instead of spending the last vacation time with us. Poor guy. And then we got to the airport. This is even more funny. I handed the passports to the ticket lady, and my mom refused to hand me hers and was almost teasing me about it, just raising her passport away from me so I wouldn't touch it, only to eventually slam it on the desk in front of everyone. Yikes. I feel bad for my dad, because he has to live with her 24/7. Anyway, she didn't bother saying bye to anyone and hasn't spoken to me since the evening she stormed out of the house in July. As far as I can remember, I've always gotten the silent treatment when my mom was upset. Even when I didn't know what I had done wrong, she would ignore me for days at a time, until I would basically crawl at her feet begging for forgiveness, or write her letters apologizing for something I didn't even know I had done. Either that, or yell at me and say extremely mean things to me, and then come back crying over how bad of a mom she is. And despite me telling her multiple times how harmful it is, especially for growing children, to give the silent treatment, it's always her go-to punishment towards me, or sometimes my dad. I probably forgot some details, but I think you get the picture. Now I have quite a small family, and Christmas at home always makes me feel depressed, especially since I moved out to another country and experienced Christmas in a big and loving family that is my partner's. Being at my parents' or around my mom makes my mental health go extremely low, and I literally start feeling suicidal again, despite being clean for several years now. I feel guilty for not coming this year either, although I physically can't, even if I wanted to because of a recent surgery. But I still want to send a package for my dad, my brother, and my aunt. But I don't know if my mom really deserves a gift. My dilemma is, if I don't send her a gift, I will hear about it for the rest of my life, and she might ruin Christmas for my family like she does every year. Again, I have a lot of stories of things she's done because of her ridiculous tantrums. But if I do send her a gift, it's like she wins again. It's like I'll be crawling at her feet begging for forgiveness like I did as a child. I don't want to be submissive to my mother anymore. I quite frankly dislike her. While it feels very nice not to bother sending her messages every single day or suffer her mean responses or useless comments, I still feel some guilt, which I assume is normal, considering how manipulative she is. I don't want her to have power over me again. Would it be wrong not to send her a gift? She also has her birthday early in January, and I don't want to wish her a happy birthday either, but it feels so wrong. I feel really stuck. I don't even know if she is going to give me anything for that matter. I think I've said anything now. I really tried to keep it short, but I have so many things I could say about her that could probably contribute to the not sending her a gift option, but I'm afraid it will be too long to read. Just ask if you want any funny stories, I guess. Oh, and this is of any use. I am 21 and my mom is over 60. TLDR. Would I be the asshole for sending a gift to my aunt, my dad, and my brother, but not my mom, considering she has been abusive to me all my life and hasn't spoken a single word to me since July? OP is not an AH for not sending a Christmas gift to his mother. OP's mom is an AH for being abusive and manipulative. OP is a victim of her toxic behavior. OP did nothing wrong by setting boundaries with his mother. His reaction is completely justified. So, I would rate OP's mum 2.5 out of 5 and OP 0 out of 5 on the AH scale. Let's now move on to the next story from Sora X3. AITA, for not wanting to bail my mother out of foreclosure of her house, cause my brother who lives there should have paid rent. My mom is already heading towards her third unfilled mortgage payment. She is 65 and recently quit her job between October and Nov to have a vacation. I don't judge her wanting to do what she wants at her age and don't hold her against her. But she was fully aware she has $200 in the bank, and next month mortgage payment was going to add up. Today she got the call from bank, and she already afraid she might head to foreclosure if we don't do something about it this week. I can pay it. I can get a bank loan for it. I don't want to for a very strong reason. My older brother, 36, has been living there since we were 3rd grade. He lives with his 3 growing children in one room, GF in his, and GF's 18-plus son in the back little room. She used to live there up till this year when they got into a terrible fight, and finally decided to live with me upstate. I'm paying for food for us. I take her shopping when I can, and usually never say no. I help get her medication and checkup set up. I'm going to pay her rent this month too. I'm taking responsibility to ensure she is happy as can be, compared to taking care of 3 young kids that the father, my brother, neglects and makes her pick up before after school. She feed them every day without reimbursing her. She even cleans their clothes and the house every day, like a loving grandmother would do while still working to pay the house and bills because he never did. But I got fed up this clear mistreatment. Sure, I came back to live with them a couple of years and didn't pay rent, but that also involved being forced to picking up his kids and being someone that actually cared what they were becoming and needed, the kids. He never paid many bills, if at all. Had water shut off twice of the time I was there, 'cause he never paid. He still owed my mother $1,500 for that BTW. She paid thousands and worked endless nights and weekends to keep us afloat as kids and feed us when our father got sick and died of HIV/AIDS. And yes, she has it too. I took her on April 2024, and it was expected he pay some money towards rent now that he had the house all to himself. It's been 8 months. He never helped this woman pay even 1 month's rent up till now. He still lives there. Now they are both mad at me 'cause it's just a loan. Nothing else matters. No, that's not how it works. He has lived there for 25 plus years. I told her this would happen, that it should be his responsibility to become an adult like the rest of us and work for the big man, even if it's terrible. She is though just as stubborn and says she will take responsibility and it belongs to her to resolve it. Neither can answer a simple question I asked. What are going to do so this doesn't happen again? Neither had a good answer. Brother called today, and his response is yelling at me, and that I don't understand. Mother was as said above, going in pointless loops to justify a reason that she has it any control when she clearly doesn't. I come across heartless and don't want my nieces and nephew being homeless. A part of me doesn't really care. They have a plan to sell cars to get the money later and pay me back, and that my question is pointless. My brother has 8 to 10 cars in the backyard rotting away, but part of me is willing to let her lose her house so she can understand who is really the burden in all this. And to add, he has let the house rot from the inside out. Garage is rotten house. Cockroaches own this house since I was a kid. The aforementioned 8 to 10 cars in a backyard like we're a impound. Outdated everything, and in need of dire repairs or rebuilding. All while claiming it's not his house or responsibility until he owns the house. You can't deny responsibility and expect to own the damaged house after our mother passes away. Not to mention they argued all the damn time. It was completely a toxic environment with him specifically. Always about bills, about kids, about money, where to move his junk. Car parts unnecessarily taking space in the house. He has in the past put his hands on her. Why she needs to defend him, I don't know. Am I the AH? OP is not an AH for refusing to give financial support to her mother and brother. OP's mother and brother are AHs for creating troubles for OP instead of taking accountability. OP did nothing wrong. Her decision is completely justified. So, I would rate OP's mother 2.5 out of 5, OP's brother 3.5, and OP 0 out of 5 on the AH scale. Let's now jump onto the next story from acceptable_secret 363. AITA for being upset because my dad went behind our backs and drank again after promising to be sober. A man, 53M white, gets into a car crash late at night while driving under the influence, which causes him to total his car and end up getting hurt. Paramedics arrive and take him to the hospital, and the entire drive there consists of him saying that he wants to die and that he wants to kill himself, and he is kept under supervision while recovering in the hospital. His wife, 47F Mexican, arrives at the hospital and manages everything on her own after she speaks to him. She speaks with the insurance, gets a good lawyer, and manages to bring money together to pay off the immediate fines and prices with the help of her brothers. A few days later, he is discharged from the hospital and comes home again and tries to speak with his children. His 2 youngest daughters, 9F and 12F, hear him out, but the eldest, 16F, doesn't even want to look at him. Eventually, she comes around and he promises to remain sober and to put his family first. A few weeks pass and everyone is working better. The kids are doing fine, his wife has a job with longer hours, and he finds a decent job. He takes AA classes and is slowly moving forward. A key thing to keep in mind, he totaled his car under his wife's credit, and they are left with 1 less car. So, his wife gives him the keys to her car for him to drive to work, with the condition that if he drinks again, she will take back the car, and he will have to move around on public transportation. He's in his 5 senses, and agrees with these terms. However, he is becoming more irritable as the days go by. His body is craving alcohol again. His family notices, and they do everything to keep him calm and happy. They reassure him and are positive, and encourage him to keep doing well, as they are proud of him. Then, because his wife is working more hours, she has a bit of pocket money. She decides to take her daughters out to the mall for a day where they can pick something they want, like a doll, press-on nails, and a sweater, and she can finally get her hair done after months of not being able to. Until the next day. The dad drinks again, but no one says anything as he is drunk, and arguing with a drunk person is stupid. They will not understand or listen. Everyone goes to bed, and he believes he is off the hook. The next morning comes. His wife gets ready for work, and the kids get ready for school. Suddenly, 16F hears her parents arguing down the hallway. She goes and checks on them. Her father is arguing with her mother, demanding her to give him her car keys as he has to go to work. She stays firm and denies him, reminding him of the agreement they had. He becomes increasingly angry and threatens to hit her, and instead takes the other set of keys she had, taunting her with them. She manages to get them back and heads out to get the car, and her children follow behind her. Then, they see their dog, out of his crate. He is allowed to be out of the crate if someone is home, otherwise he will remain in it. But the girls fear for the dog's safety, so they put him in his crate. The father calls out to them, saying that he is still home, so the dog can stay outside with him. 12F says that he never closes the dog crate, so she's doing for him, and so the dog stays safe. He shoves her back and tells them to get the f*** out to their mother. 16F has had enough, so she grabs her sisters and is walking out the door when she hears her father call them pitas. One of the worst slurs in Spanish, wears in a horrible Latin accent, as he doesn't speak Spanish, but his wife and children do, so he knew it would hurt even more. He says, "F you all," to his daughters, and 16F yells, "Well, f you too," and slams the front door before leaving to go to school. A few hours later, 16F checks her phone. She received a notification from her father's email. She has both her parents' emails. It was a confirmation receipt for a $430 flight ticket from LA to New York, departing at 10 p.m. the same day. 16F sends the email to her mother and asks her about it. Her mother reassures her to just focus at school. Everything will be sorted out soon. When they arrived at home, they found some of her father's belongings gone. 2 weeks later, he reaches out to 16F once, begging her to convince her mother to let him come back home. He has avoided talking about anything with her mother and told her to figure it out on her own. They are now having trouble figuring out what they are going to do to pay rent, bills, and what will happen with the legal troubles. Her father's court date is approaching, and if he doesn't show up, he will be arrested for a DUI. What is your opinion? Should her mother have let him drive the car? Is he in the wrong? OP is not an AH for refusing her father. OP's father is an AH for being abusive towards his family. OP did nothing wrong by refusing her father's request to let him home again. OP's father has broken his promise by not prioritizing his family. So, I would rate OP's father 3.5 and OP 0 out of 5 on the AH scale. Let's now move on to the next story from Fickle_election4835. AITA. If I stopped talking to my ex's family altogether? Me, 18F, and my BF, 19M, have been together for about 6 months, but have known each other longer, as he's my best friend's cousin. In August, he left for MTC. We're both LDS, though I converted and he was born in, and he didn't talk to me at all. We stayed together and planned to get married when we got home. Up until the day he left, he was telling me how much he loved me and couldn't wait to marry me, etc. I figured the radio silence was because he was busy. He's a pretty strict rule follower, and I assumed he would be focusing on his new role. Well, a month went by, then 2, then 3. I was getting his group emails when he would send them irregularly, and finally yesterday, I get my first real contact from him. It was a voice note. He broke up with me. The fish was basically that he wrote me a letter I never received, and that he had never really been in love with me. He had just tried really hard to. He said he couldn't marry me if he knew his heart wasn't in it, and I deserved more than a lukewarm husband. And then he offered to pay me back the money I used to go visit him and his family back before he left, as if it was the money that mattered most. He seemed really fixated on it. I completely get his emotions and feelings. Apparently, he'd been feeling this way since back when he asked me out, and was just too afraid to say anything. I'm a little hurt. He asked me out despite knowing his feelings, because my feelings went from being a crush that would blow over in a month to now, I'm in love with him. I've never been in love before, and typically I'm really good at guarding my heart, so I'm not sure how he got through all the defenses so easily, especially with, apparently fake, sentiments. I'm just glad he finally told me now. I was getting really upset at the lack of communication since talking used to be our favorite thing to do, and I was expecting to still chat once a week, but nope. Completely ghosted for months. His family and I are really close. My best friend is his cousin, and her parents are mother and father figures to me. His own parents and I grew very fond and close with each other. I started calling his mom Mama last name, and his sister and I are also very close. She's little, and I absolutely adore her, and having a baby sister again. His brothers and I weren't as close, but his older brother reached out to me this morning to confirm I was all right. I love his family so much, but their son hurt me pretty bad. My heart is by no means made of glass. It's got fortresses protecting it. I've been through a lot, and in spite of that, I'm still going strong. My heart will heal, but it will take some time. I feel like I need to rip the Band-Aid off and just cleanse myself of him, so I'm thinking I may just cut him off. He wanted to stay friends, send his family their Christmas gifts, and then stop talking to them as well. The thing is, his dad, mom, and brother all checked in on me, and I feel really bad for wanting to not talk to them anymore. I love them so much, but it really hurts, and I don't even want to know when he comes home, or if he brings home another girl. Nothing. I want to be oblivious to his existence. I already unfriended him on all social media, and deleted any posts dash pictures of him and I together. I would feel horrible to stop talking to his family too, because they did nothing wrong. But at the same time, I'm not sure it would be healthy for me to stay in contact for the next 2 years, and then have to break my heart all over again by him coming home and having to not speak with them then, because I won't want to hear anything about him, and they'll give me life updates with him in them. So AITA, if I stop talking to my ex's family, is there another solution I may not be seeing? OP is not an AH for prioritizing her emotional well-being. She is going through a difficult breakup. OP's ex-boyfriend is an AH for breaking up with OP over a voice note. OP's decision to protect and distance herself from this difficult situation is completely justified. So, I would rate OP's ex-boyfriend 3.5 and OP 0 out of 5 on the AH scale. What do the Mac Reddit fans think? Is the OP an AH or not? Let me know in the comment section below. If you like the stories I brought you, just hit the like button, share them as much as you can, and don't forget to subscribe to Mac Reddit for a daily dose. Bye bye. See you tomorrow with some more spicy fries.